welcome to the news. I am Saja Brito. Coming up, family home in Old Joswang stormed by armed men. Our guest on News Review today is Mr. Siaka Sonko, security expert and an advisor to the Gambia Police Force. But first, we'll take a look at the newspapers. The Standard newspaper is reporting that GAP leader urged the government of the Gambia to suspend ties with Israel. Allegation at GT board probed. Government ought to fund Arabic schools. This, according to the leader of the Gambia Moral Congress, Honorable May Ahmed Fati. 212 people defect from other political parties to the United Democratic Party. Mayor Law marks 3 years with debt-free Banjul City Council. Let's take a look at some of these stories in detail. The Gambia Action Party has called on the government of the Gambia to suspend diplomatic ties with Israel over the Jewish state's barbaric attack on Palestinians. We call on the government and all AU member states to halt diplomatic ties with Israel until they stop the barbaric killings of Palestinians. We urge President Barrow to facilitate a conference of Islamic states to discuss the worsening security situation in Palestine. GAP Secretary General Musa Yale Bachili told the Standard newspaper yesterday. The Public Petition Committee of the National Assembly Tuesday launched investigations into allegations of graft implicating senior members of the Gambia Tourism Board, including former Director General Abdullahi Haidara. The probe comes following a petition by concerned GTB staff members alleging widespread corruption and procurement irregularities. Committed in the awards contract, of course, for the construction of ecotourism camps in 2018. Meanwhile, government has been urged to fund Arabic/Islamic schools, according to the GMC leader, Mai Fati. Former Interior Minister and leader of the GMC party has challenged the government to allocate budgetary funding and all other opportunities to Arabic schools. As a nation, we have been grossly unfair to half of our population who choose to attend Arabic schools. The state must allocate resources to this sector as much as it does towards conventional education, Mai told the Standard newspaper. And now 212 people have been said to have defected from other political parties to the United Democratic Party. A reported 212 people have joined the UDP. The majority of them were said to have decamped from other parties, while others were said to have no previous ties to any other political party. The group was the latest to announce allegiance to the UDP at a ceremony held at the party headquarters in Manjai on Saturday, attended by the rank and file of the party. Musa Baji from Bijilo, who orchestrated the defections, said he was motivated by his father, a staunch supporter of the UDP, to in fact join the party. The mayor of Banjul City Council, Rohi Low, and her team marked 3 years in office on May 12th with, among other achievements, a clean slate for BCC after paying up all debts accrued by the council over the past years. These enviable achievements, according to a statement from the council, were attained through systematic restructuring from 2018 when the mayor was elected into office. Barrow addresses security concerns in Eid message. President Adama Barrow has used his Eid al-Fitr speech to address heightened security concerns and public safety in the country. He described the disturbing reports of domestic violence in communities, including the recent spate of stories of criminal acts of drug abuse, of course, theft and destruction of property and other forms of crimes, as regrettable. Over the past few years and in recent times, crimes rates have increased in the Gambia with reports of wanton homicides, burglary and rape, which we will discuss later with our guest on the news today. Meanwhile, police investigate 2 homicides in the past days. The police have opened investigations into 2 reported murder cases that took place at Serekunda's Westfield Turnabout and Mandinari in Kombo North recently. Police spokesperson Superintendent Lamin Jai yesterday confirmed the homicide cases and said investigations are underway in the Westfield and Mandinari cases. That will be it for the Standard newspaper. Let's take a look at the point. Senegalese driver who broke PIU officer's leg have been arrested. Sabali reveals alleged plan ambush by Barrow NIA on him. Let's take a look at those stories. Police in the North Bank region have arrested one Alindao, a Senegalese national who was reported to have broken the leg of one Sergeant Khalilu Fadera, a personnel of the police intervention unit. The point has been reliably informed. The suspect, Alindao, a commercial driver in Senegal, is currently detained at the Farafenni police station as investigation into the matter continues. It could be recalled that Sergeant Fadera had his leg broken after the said officer hung himself against a vehicle that refused to stop at a police checkpoint. Meanwhile, Sabally reveals alleged planned ambush by President Adama Barrow and the NIA. Mamadou Sabally, the former presidential advisor, minister, Secretary General and head of the civil service in Yahya Jammeh's government, has revealed the alleged planned ambush on him by President Barrow and the NIA, and also the threatening audio message by the NPP supporters. Mamadou Sabally, a vital and staunch UDP supporter, was speaking at a press conference organized on Sunday. He was quoted as saying, "I got the information from my insider within NIA and State House that Adama Barrow and Usman Sow are planning to ambush Sabally Mamadou." In fact, he also added that Abubakar Jawara, a criminal businessman, offered $100,000 to each of the rebels selected to ambush Mr. Sabally in their secret meeting held at Abubakar Jawara's compound. That would be it for the newspapers. Let's go for a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. A family in Old Joswang is left in shock after armed men stormed their property Saturday night, leaving with a huge amount of cash, jewelry, and other valuable items. More in this report. Horror in Old Joswang as armed men stormed this property housing a family and their auto spare parts business. The burglars, as you can see, ransacked the property, finding anything valuable they can steal. When they came in on Saturday evening, the homeowner, of course, was around with his 3 daughters. They were allegedly tortured, and in fact, shots were fired in the air, breaking the girls and forcing them to lead the thieves where exactly the money was. In monetary value, we have been told that they have been able to get away with a staggering amount of 16 million Gambian dollars. A burglary in the town of Old Joswang has left many in the community gobsmacked amid a surge in thievery, murder, among other criminal activities in the country. The Burji family woke up to their worst nightmare on the night of May 15 when armed men stormed their property, which houses them and their auto spare parts shop, leaving with an approximate whooping amount of 16 million Gambian dollars. A group of 6 men allegedly forced their way into the burglar-proofed house after breaking one of the windows. Starting from the family's residence upstairs, the burglars ransacked the entire apartment looking for anything valuable they could steal. The head of the family, identified as Walid Burji, was home at the time of the incident with his 3 daughters. Walid Burji recalled shots being fired in the air, bounded, gagged and mercilessly beaten by the armed men.
They started, actually we were watching TV, and then when the series finished, we decided to go to bed. So we turned off the lights, we turned off everything, and we entered. I wanted to use the restroom. I entered into the restroom, I started hearing noise. So my daughter came next to the door and she said, "Dad, are you hearing this noise?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Do you know from where it is?" She said, "No." And then suddenly she screamed and someone opened fire. Then I jumped from the toilet. I opened the door of the toilet. The guy was straight in front of me. I closed the door again. I locked the door. I called my son, but he didn't answer. But I pretended that I'm telling him, come, there is thieves, there is people in the house.
The burglars became enraged at Walid's attempt to scare them off, and that was when the assault on him and his daughters began.
They entered, they started hitting me, they started hitting my daughters. Mostly they were hitting on me because my daughters, they just touched them a little bit. And they started throwing everything from the cupboard. They found some money in my daughter's cupboards, about $20,000, plus their gold, they took it.
The rage did not stop as the armed robbers had a bigger plan in mind, which was to access the safe in the shop where hard currencies were being kept. But first, they will have to overpower the male in the house by torturing him, forcing one of the daughters to use her survival instincts, leading them exactly where the cash was.
They tried to drag me downstairs. Then they saw that I was pulling and pushing with them. Then they brought me in again. They took my watch. They took my phone. The first phone, actually, when he opened the door of the toilet, he took the door. He took the phone from me, but I had the second phone, which they didn't know. So when they were pushing and pulling and we went outside, they were even forcing my daughters to eat artificial fruits, plastic fruits. They said they should eat it. Then they wanted to drag me downstairs. I was pushing and pulling with them. Then they brought me back inside. They sellotapped my daughter's mouth with her hands and they started hitting me. Then my daughter gave them signs that she will lead them to the safe because she was not happy with what they were doing to me. So she led them downstairs. They opened the safe. They cleared everything.
Whilst everyone tries to wrap their head around what happened, some are left wondering how the armed men made it to the property even when it was burglar-proofed with cameras mounted on every angle.
5, 6 people. Some stayed with us, some went downstairs, and some were even down. They had a car, they had everything. They even turned the cameras, they even took the decoder, they removed the whole DVD, the recording system for the CCTV. They cut the wires, they removed everything. And then there was my wife's phone, which they did not take because they took my daughters, 3 daughters, they took their phone, plus my 2 phones. Because the second phone, they didn't take it, but when they went down with my daughter, another guy was standing outside, so I thought he was not near. I tried to call my brother to tell my brother to come over. He saw me trying to call. He came, he hit me again, and he took the phone from me. Then when they left, there was my wife's phone, which was in the sitting room. So I called the police, I called my brother, and all of them came. And we started the investigation, and then we decided to forward the matter to you people.
Asked in monetary value how much the burglars got away with, Walid Burji dropped the shocker. In terms of monetary value, how much do you think they got away with?
They went with the watch also. The watch has a value. And they went with some gold, and they went with some dollars. They went with dollars and euros and sefa. If you want to put them equivalent to dollars, they are almost equivalent about 16 million.
Walid Burji said crime has become prevalent in the country, adding that recent times and trends have become scary.
It's becoming very, very, very serious. If these people can come, break your burglar proof, enter into your house while you are awake, and bring irons with them and threaten you, hit you, these people, they might even come during the day. The pistol he had, maybe it's not a real pistol, maybe it's an artificial pistol, but it looks like a real pistol, it sounds like a real pistol, but I didn't see any hole in the walls. That's why I assume it was artificial. Maybe it's a rubber bullet or whatever. But in the future, these people will start coming in with real weapons and it will be more dangerous.
For TFN News Review, I am Saja Brito. Welcome back, viewers. And now I am joined by our special guest on News Review today, Mr. Siaka Sonko, security expert, I would say, and an advisor to the Gambia Police Force. Welcome to the Fatu Network, Mr. Sonko.
Thank you very much for having me.
As a security expert and someone, advising the Gambia Police Force on national security matters, what do you make of the recent security, some will say, crisis in the country?
It is very alarming that we are having a spike in criminal activity in and around the metropolis, Banjul, and surrounding, Greater Banjul. It is very alarming, and it is a concern to the police. It's a great concern to the government. And that is why when the late IGP passed away, the new one that took over, even before he took over, initiated the zero crime activity, whereby police are made to go out and try to get into society, try to break crime rings and arrest individuals with weapons and so forth. On the whole, it was a very successful move, yet still, criminals always have a yard or two ahead of the police when it comes to incidents like this. So they will always try to beat the system.
So now, of course, whenever there is something, there must be a reason. The why is always asked and is always there. But why do you think there's an escalation in crimes recently?
I don't think it is a mighty escalation in the sense that if you look at the statistics, which I don't have with me now, crimes have always been committed, even before, and criminals exploit opportunities to commit their crimes. If there's an opportunity for them to do it and they feel they will get away from it, they will do it. They'll get away with it, they will do it. Well, again, we have to understand also that there is this newfound freedom. People have access to phones and everything. Everything that happens being reported. So anytime something happens, the smallest thing is being reported. Well, I'm not trying to minimize the gravity of the situation, but yes, again, people try to say criminal activity is because of the youth, unemployment, and all those things. I think that is a very lame excuse. If a person wants to commit a crime, he would. You have people who are very well placed in families and so forth. They go on to commit crimes. So that is not a very good, for me, excuse for the crimes that are being committed. Again, I was listening to a program, I don't know whether it's here or another, I think it must be the QTV, one of our individuals, Esa Bokasi particularly, and Mr. Cisse. Yes, and they were discussing about crime trends and so forth. You see, criminals move around. You could have criminals operating in Senegal. When they are being really squeezed, they move to another location where they feel the crime officers involved in crime investigation or detection are a little bit lax. They will try to exploit those openings.
Is that the case in the case of the Gambia?
We do
that we have a kind of a weak system that criminals are trying to exploit?
Criminals will always exploit an opportunity, like I said. It is not weak per se, but we still need to tweak our security operations and try to improve on them. Criminals are dynamic, so we have to change our ways of operation and try to meet them before they do some things. But if where we fail, we investigate. Sometimes you find that crimes are reported and quickly police are able to break this. I think you heard about that incident where some ladies were stealing from the shop with the
Yes,
CCTV.
we covered that story.
Yes, I understand you did that, but it was a very good thing for the police to also jump in with your alerts and so forth. I also got information from somebody from abroad to say he was able to tweak the videos around and try to improve on the footage,
image.
on the image, and therefore, with that, people were able to pick up. So before we move on, I would like to really recommend that businesses install CCTV. And in a sense, installing CCTV makes no sense if you are not able to disguise the location of your storage. But if you leave it so open, anybody breaks into your place, they will remove that as well. Like he's trying to say, I'm not been there, that they've tampered with the CCTV, removed their storage.
The decoder and then the recording system of the CCTV,
Yes,
as a matter of
so
fact.
you should be able to install them in such a way that, with expert advice, of course, such a way that after an incident, those things will be safe and police can refer to them later to review and see whether they'll be able to catch up.
So how about the issue of organized crime? Because to me, I feel like all of these things happening are not done by, you know, petty criminals, because we've just watched this video, and in this case, this seemed like a highly organized, you know, gang. What do you think?
I've not seen that footage, but you see, we have got movies going around with sort of crime actions, and people pick up from them. Again, it is also a big problem if people keep huge amounts of money at home. I understand that because it was a weekend, they did not go and save their monies at the bank or wherever they're supposed to. Keeping huge amounts of money at home is a risk, and if you are in the habit of keeping monies, people close to you will see this and they will sell the idea to somebody else, and at the end of the day, they get their cut. That's a criminal way of doing things. So
there's a possibility that sometimes some things happen because of an inside job?
Sometimes it happens, but again, I don't know whether it was you who covered it when that young man came from, he said he came from Bissau and he was ambushed, you know, taken for a ride and his money was taken. Sometimes some of those reports are not as true as they sound at the beginning. So the caution to people spreading information is be careful what you try to spread out to the public, because unless you can confirm that it's a fact, you know, it's better to keep it, sit on it for a bit. I understand the task for spreading news or breaking news, but sometimes it's better to keep that. Again,
but we cannot discount the impact sometimes that the news carries.
Yes, it does. I think the media is playing a very vital role in this country, trying to let people know what is happening around them. But I only want to emphasize that before revealing anything, sharing it, try to make sure you get the facts.
We verify. One thing I am very curious about, because, you know, sometimes when we have these kind of things, we have had murder cases in this country, and even before the police arrive, we realize that people are all over the place tampering with the crime scene. Because I have a follow-up question to that before asking, or before getting into, you know, the forensic capabilities of the Gambia Police Force. But what do you have to say to the people out there that when crimes like these happen, it is important to stay away from, you know, from the incident, so that police can carry out the forensics and whatnot?
That's a very good point, because we realize that Gambians, I'm not going to blame everybody, but generally when incidents happen, they don't want to wait for the police or the experts to go in and handle those issues. They jump in and try to make themselves look helpful when they are not helpful. Even for a crime in an accident scene, an accident happens, you run in and you start tampering with the scene or even victims. There's a way in which you can handle victims. You handle them in a particular way, you cause more harm than good. And again, going in, you trample on the scene, you leave your marks there and so on. It becomes very difficult for the later investigation, because we would like to exclude everybody who has nothing to do with it from the scene. But in a crime scene, for instance, people rush in and everybody tries to participate, and when the police come in, the scene has already been tampered. And At the end of the day, police find it difficult to try to tie any individual to that particular crime scene. I've heard you talk about, maybe that will come as a supplementary, what our capabilities are in terms of detecting things. Indeed, the police have been trained in various aspects of police investigation. Some of them are scientific, where we don't have the capability, we are able to analyze later, but we have capability of really picking up pieces of evidence that can be analyzed using expert advice. Where we don't have it with us, we can get assistance from outside. This extends to even post-mortem examinations, where we cannot do it ourselves. Experts have been invited to come. I think you heard about when the TRRC, when they tried to dig up those bodies and so forth, they invited experts to come in to assist with those identifications. So it is not like everything is dead when it comes to us. Where we stall, where we get stuck, we can always get international assistance to move on.
You know, when it comes to crime scenes, technology is playing a very huge role. You know when blood is spilled, even when it's cleaned, when you pour luminol on it, it will light up like, you know, a room. But I think that something has to be done, especially when it comes to a database. You know, because, for example, if you look at this story, when I went there, someone said, well, the police came here and then they took the fingerprints. And the first question I asked myself was, for what? Where are you going to put that fingerprint in? We don't even have a national database to make sure that when you are in the system and once your fingerprint is taken, it hits.
We do have the criminal records office. We analyze it there. We have always got the chance to analyze it using international assistance. But we have got a criminal records office with people trained to lift fingerprints, and they're able to lift them professionally so that experts can analyze them and say who and who. And we should not forget that we have had this criminal record office from the colonial period. It has been in existence. It is not like something new. We have that. We have that. The forensic unit. We have that.
Obviously, there is so much going on. We've had the murder cases, you know, burglaries, you know, thievery and whatnot. How is the Gambia police dealing with these things? Because we've also have to look at other possibilities of the Gambian people losing confidence in the police, because that eventually will lead to mob justice. And we've seen recently, because there was a time a video was circulated on social media of a guy who was caught stealing. They didn't even bother to take the person to the police, and mob justice was applied.
I have seen it too. It is unfortunate that people get too much involved in trying to sort problems. But that doesn't help, because a person can be accused wrongfully, and the mob jumps in and beats him, and at the end of the day it's found out that he didn't do it. What happens next? If police start arresting them, say, oh, the police are too high-handed. No. If you have a suspect, the best thing to do, if you are exercising citizens' right of arrest the individual, hand him over to the police. But beating and hanging the person.
You know, this is where the other part comes in, because sometimes people try to, you know, do the mob justice thing because they say, okay, this is a well-known thief. He's just going to go in there and then they're going to let him out again. So what's the point?
I think it should be understood that accusing an individual doesn't equal to finding enough evidence to convict that person. If people report incidents to the police, and they just come and say, Siaka Sonko broke into my house, and there's no evidence linking me to that, what do you think the police will do? They will release the individual. But if you really want police to proceed with the case, don't only come and hand over a suspect, come with witnesses who witness A, B, C, D of the offense committed, and be willing to go to court to give testimony. Again, I did discuss that somewhere else, and I said we have had issues where civilians, individuals come and volunteer evidence before the police, and now it is left to them to go, left to the police to prosecute, and they are invited to come as witnesses. But the time wasting in the court is a big concern, because you go to court, the cases keep on being adjourned, and if that individual is, let's say, a laborer, and he depends on his daily work to earn something, now he has to suspend that to go to court. He goes there until 3 o'clock, and then the court is adjourned. He is not called, and they say, come again tomorrow. For 2-3 days, if that person gets away from the court, you'll find it very difficult to convince to come. That is I don't blame the court, because again, rushing cases
can lead to wrong convictions.
Can lead to wrong conviction. But seriously, all those things have to be factored. We cannot make people just come to court constantly adjourning because a defense counsel is not there, or a prosecutor is not there, or somebody is the magistrate, and you know, those things cause problems. Mob justice, there's no justification for it, none. The police will always act on information, but the information must be complete. If you just come and say, he did that, and then you walk away, the police will call him and question him and try to get information. If they don't, they will release. That's what happens. But I think it's unfair to say police just release people. At the end of the day, we are members of the public as well. We have our families outside. A crime committed against anyone or any other person is a crime committed against me as well. Because it might be a relative, even if it's not a relative, a neighbor, a friend. So these are issues that public should really calm down, those involved in it, calm down and desist from the practice of taking the law into their own hands. At the end of the day, they hit somebody so badly, he dies. The ones who get it just because they were hitting a non-criminal. He might be a non-criminal, but on that occasion, he might not have done it. Even if he did, that's not the way to treat it. It should be taken to court.
It's so easy, yes, said than done to just calm down and then leave matters to the police. But it's also become very hard that when people walk literally on the streets, they have to, look over their soldiers, because there has been all these, killings and rumors and whatnot. As an advisor to Gambia Police Force, has there been any engagement recently to trying to address the recent, security issues we're currently facing?
We have written to regional governors and the city council to see where we can have police and community outreach, where we will be discussing their concerns as well as police constraints, so that we can see how best to solve those issues. And we are going to work on that. As you can imagine, we recently are still trying to sort those things out. But we are working towards that, trying to make sure we reach out to the communities, community policing networks around. And there are some youths who have volunteered to assist the police. But those have to be really controlled, because we don't want them to be seen as vigilante.
Right.
We don't want them to be seen as vigilante. Rather, support to the police where we need them. They work closely with the police under police supervision, rather than going out on their own. If things go bad, it will not be nice.
What is your message to the Gambian people as we all, grapple with these recent events?
I just want to recommend that the Gambian people try to, there are groups and gangs around. People know them. Sometimes crimes are committed, the articles of evidence find their way into homes and so forth. People know about them, but they keep quiet. They don't want, just because they benefit, or they know the person who did it, and they don't, oh, it's my friend or my neighbor. So they try to
cover up.
They cover up. These are not helpful. And if we can share information and also create neighborhood watches. Wherever you live, you watch your neighborhood's backyard. If he's not there, if you are not there, he also does this. At the end of the day, we will have not total eradication of criminal activity, but at least those who commit the crimes will be seen because somebody's watching. It's not possible for the police to be everywhere. We also have to complement the police efforts, you know. You imagine the whole country, how many policemen do we have? And you want them to cover everywhere. It's not possible. But with the public collaboration with the police, we can help decrease the incidence of crime. Or where they happen, detection is not difficult. Again, I also would recommend to the commercial houses around the high streets, they have got CCTV. I think CCTV coverage, what I've seen, covers the main banking hall and their cash points. But they should extend it to the street, the perimeter outside, so that sometimes, I remember that just outside here there was a theft, but when police wanted footage, there was none. So it doesn't help. Customers come to the bank to come and either cash in money, cash money out, or pay money. They come around the banking area outside and they attack, and there is no coverage. At the end of the day, people will be scared. Imagine this man has a lot of money. One of the reasons why he wouldn't go to the bank is because he's afraid going to the bank, they might rob his money. So he keeps it at home. So the banks too should help themselves. Their CCTV, the coverage, they should extend it to this, just outside their area, you know. At least that we have, when some things like this happen, police will come and review the CCTV and we'll be able to pick up some things. Because your tip-off was very helpful and we are grateful. I understand someone was saying, why didn't the police thank you? But
oh, so you guys got that?
Yes. I am very much on.
We don't need to be thanked. We're just trying to do the job.
No, you need to. You see, those who cannot thank you should really ask themselves. You are giving all kinds of information to the people. And it's not, whatever you are paid for, it's not enough. So I think you should be thanked. You are doing a wonderful job, and really, I think we commend that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sonko.
I picked that up, really.
Thank you. You're welcome. We're just trying to do the job and trying to, you know, tell the stories as they are. We're just trying to put information out there and verify as much as we can, just like you rightly said. So thank you very much for coming through to the FATU Network News Survey. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. We're going to go.
I'm a big fan of FATU. I used to be in UK covering, I write a lot of comments about FATU Network.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to go for a short break, and when we return, we will run our final story. It seems like we'll just go with
TAF Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. TAF Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square.
Thank you
very much. Okay. Okay.
Problems with it, technical issues. So that will be it for today's show. Do join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.